When Ken Curtis was close to the end of his life, he surprised everyone with a shocking confession. The actor who played the friendly Festus on Gunsmoke revealed that there were 6 actors in Hollywood he truly hated. Fans could not believe it because Ken always seemed so kind and cheerful on screen. But behind the scenes, things were very different. The world of classic westerns was full of secrets and rivalries. Ken's honest words made people see him in a new light. Everyone wanted to know who these 6 actors were and why he felt so strongly about them. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Ken Curtis was famous for playing Festus on the TV show Gunsmoke, but his real life was not as simple as it looked on screen. Even though he made people laugh and smile, Ken faced many problems in his career. One of his biggest struggles was being typecast. Because he played Festus for so many years, directors and producers only saw him as that one character. This made it very hard for Ken to get different or more serious roles in movies and television. He wanted to show his talent in other ways, but Hollywood did not give him many chances. Another problem Ken faced was jealousy and competition on set. Some of his co-stars did not like how popular he became with fans. They felt threatened by his success and sometimes tried to make him look bad in front of the crew or the audience. This made the work environment stressful and sometimes even lonely for Ken. He also had to deal with creative differences. Sometimes he had ideas for his character or the story, but the directors or other actors did not listen to him. This made him feel ignored and unimportant. Ken also struggled with the pressure of fame. People expected him to always be friendly and funny, even when he was tired or upset. He had to hide his real feelings and keep smiling for the cameras. This was very hard for him, especially when he was dealing with personal problems at home. All these challenges made Ken's life much more difficult than people realized. These problems also affected how he felt about some of his co-stars. Over time, small arguments and misunderstandings turned into bigger grudges. This is why Ken Curtis ended up having strong negative feelings about certain actors in Hollywood. Now we talk about 6 names he dislikes the most and why. Number 1. James Arness. James Arness was the main star of Gunsmoke, playing Marshal Matt Dillon. On screen, he and Ken Curtis seemed like good friends, but behind the scenes, things were not always so friendly. Ken felt that James was too controlling on set. James liked to be in charge of everything, from how scenes were filmed to how other actors delivered their lines. Sometimes Ken wanted to try new things with his character Festus, but James would not let him. Ken felt like he was not allowed to show his own ideas or creativity. This made Ken feel frustrated and unimportant. Ken also noticed that James often got the best lines and the most attention from the directors. Even when Ken worked hard and did a great job, James would still be the center of attention. Ken thought this was unfair and it made him feel like he was always in James's shadow. Over time, these feelings grew stronger. Ken started to believe that James did not respect him as an actor or as a person. This hurt Ken deeply because he wanted to be seen as an equal. These problems made Ken develop a strong dislike for James Arness, even though fans never saw it. Number 2. Milburn Stone. Milburn Stone played Doc Adams on Gunsmoke and was one of the most important characters on the show. At first, Ken Curtis was excited to work with Milburn because he was a talented and respected actor. However, Ken soon felt that Milburn did not treat him kindly. Ken believed that Milburn was often dismissive of his ideas and did not take him seriously. Whenever Ken tried to suggest something new for a scene or his character, Milburn would ignore him or act like his ideas were not good enough. This made Ken feel small and unimportant on set. Ken also noticed that Milburn liked to keep to himself and did not try to be friendly with the other actors, especially Ken. Sometimes Milburn would even talk about Ken behind his back, saying that he was not as skilled or professional as the rest of the cast. This gossip hurt Ken's feelings and made him feel left out. Over time, Ken started to avoid Milburn and stopped trying to be friends with him. The lack of respect and kindness from Milburn Stone was a big reason why Ken Curtis developed a strong dislike for him, even though they worked together for many years on the same show. Number 3. Dennis Weaver. Dennis Weaver played the character Chester Good on Gunsmoke before Ken Curtis joined the show as Festus. At first, Ken admired Dennis for his talent and the way fans loved his character, but things changed when Dennis decided to leave Gunsmoke while the show was still very popular. Ken felt that Dennis's decision to quit was selfish and hurtful to the rest of the cast and crew. When Dennis left, it created a lot of stress and confusion on set. The writers had to quickly find a way to replace his character, and everyone had to adjust to the new changes. Ken believed that Dennis did not think about how his actions would affect others. He thought Dennis was only thinking about his own career, and not about the team. This made Ken feel disappointed and even angry. Ken also felt extra pressure to fill the gap left by Dennis, which was not easy. Fans compared Festus to Chester, and Ken always felt like he was being judged. Over time, these feelings turned into resentment. Ken Curtis could not forgive Dennis Weaver for leaving the show at such an important time, and this became a strong reason for Ken to dislike him deeply. Number 4. Amanda Blake. Amanda Blake played Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke and was one of the most famous faces on the show. At first, Ken Curtis was happy to work with her because she was talented and well-liked by fans. But as time went on, Ken and Amanda started to have problems. Ken felt that Amanda was very demanding on set. She often wanted things done her way and did not like it when others disagreed with her. If Ken had a different idea about a scene or his character, Amanda would argue or refuse to listen. This made Ken feel frustrated and ignored. Ken also thought that Amanda tried to get more attention for herself. She would sometimes ask for more lines or special scenes, which made Ken feel like she was trying to outshine everyone else. This created tension between them, and they stopped getting along. Ken believed that Amanda's attitude made the work environment stressful and less enjoyable for everyone. Over time, these small arguments and disagreements turned into a strong dislike. Ken Curtis felt that Amanda Blake was too difficult to work with, and he could not forgive her for making his job harder. This is why he ended up hating her so much. Number 5. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds joined Gunsmoke for a few seasons, playing the character Quint Asper. When Burt arrived on set, Ken Curtis hoped they would work well together. However, Ken soon felt that Burt was arrogant and did not respect the older cast members. Burt was young, handsome, and already becoming a big star, and sometimes he acted like he was better than everyone else. Ken noticed that Burt would often ignore advice from more experienced actors and would do things his own way, even if it made filming more difficult. Ken also felt that Burt did not care about the team spirit on set. Instead of trying to fit in, Burt focused on his own career and used Gunsmoke as a stepping stone to bigger roles in Hollywood. This attitude bothered Ken, who believed that everyone should work together and support each other. Ken thought Burt's behavior was disrespectful, especially to those who had been on the show for many years. Over time, Ken's disappointment turned into dislike. He could not forgive Burt for his arrogance and lack of respect. For Ken Curtis, Burt Reynolds became one of the actors he hated the most because of the way he treated others on set. Number 6. Glenn Strange. Glenn Strange played the bartender Sam Noonan on Gunsmoke and worked with Ken Curtis for many years. At first, Ken thought Glenn was a friendly and easygoing person. They would talk and laugh together on set, and Ken believed they had a good working relationship. But over time, Ken started to hear things that made him feel differently. Some people told Ken that Glenn would say negative things about him behind his back. Glenn would act nice to Ken's face, but then complain about him to other cast members or crew when Ken was not around. This two-faced behavior hurt Ken deeply. He felt betrayed because he thought Glenn was his friend. Ken also noticed that Glenn sometimes tried to make himself look better by putting others down, including Ken. This made Ken feel even more isolated and upset. Ken believed that honesty and loyalty were very important, so Glenn's actions were hard for him to forgive. Even though they continued to work together, Ken could not trust Glenn anymore. The feeling of being talked about and betrayed by someone he once liked turned into strong dislike. For Ken Curtis, Glenn Strange became one of the actors he hated the most because of this betrayal.